Alright, we should be live now. We are here tonight for a forecast update on our potentially major tornado event that we're expecting here on Tuesday and Wednesday, and maybe into Thursday as well. Again, mainly for sections of the mid-Mississippi River Valley. We have a Day 3 very large enhanced risk of severe weather in place right now from sections of southern Michigan all the way back through parts of northeastern Texas. We've also got a Day 2 10% hatch tornado risk now for portions of eastern Kansas. This includes areas like Wichita, Hutchinson, Emporia, Ottawa, Osage City, and surrounding areas. So we've got ourselves quite an event to forecast here for the next few days, and we're also going to be talking about a potential for a big-time winter storm for portions of the upper Midwest. So let's go ahead and get right into it. But before we do, I want to make sure that our stream is good and loading here. So everybody just give me a thumbs up in the chat if we are good to go. Again, we should be live here. What's going on, everybody? How's it going? Good to see the usual crowd back in here once again. What's up, Sam, Vincent, Steady Tricks, Severe Weather, Joan Paul? How's it going, everybody? I'm going to go ahead and create a little community post here for this stream. But after that, we can go ahead and get right into this. So give me just a second here. Just give me just a moment. Before we dive into this forecast, we do need to mention that we actually do have an ongoing tornado warning for sections of Delaware. This is going out for the Georgetown area. We currently have some broad rotation approaching Seaford and the surrounding areas. So if you're in this area, we need you to seek shelter immediately on the lowest floor of a sturdy building, away from windows and in an interior room. We actually had a relatively strong tornado near Hattiesburg, Mississippi this morning. It was PDS. We do have reports of significant structural damage. But give me just a second here. Again, we're going to go ahead and share this. What's up, Justin R. Wind Dancer Media, Derek, Sanja, Nyctophobia. How's it going, everybody? Again, I just thought it would be kind of fun to do a little stream night, so I put out a donation goal on our premiere, and the awesome Alan Crow hit that donation goal. So again, we're here for tonight, all because of him. So you guys can thank him. What's up, Michelle from Cincinnati, Ohio? Yeah, let me know where y'all are tuning in from, because guys, we are going to be watching everywhere from Texas to Wisconsin and from Kansas to Pennsylvania over the next several days. Okay, we are going to be dealing with a very widespread severe weather threat. Again, the Day 3 enhanced risk of severe weather already includes almost 100, or not 100, a million people in the enhanced risk, but in the general entirety of all of our severe threat, from the marginal through to the slight and enhanced risks, we have almost 100 million people already included in that risk of severe weather. Northeast Ohio, Long Island, South Carolina, Hot Springs, Arkansas. HRRR has some prefrontal madness. Yeah, and we're going to talk about that. It is also worth noting that we do have a severe thunderstorm warning right now for portions of Nebraska. This is for Kimball and Dix. This is very interesting because this severe thunderstorm has managed to develop in 30-degree weather. Now, this kind of happened the other day in Minnesota as well, so what is going on here that manages to produce a severe thunderstorm in 30-degree temperatures? Well, basically, what we're dealing with here is a hail threat. It's not a wind threat whatsoever. If we had a wind-driven severe risk in 30-degree weather, that would be, that's virtually impossible. But a hail threat is actually somewhat realistic, since we're just barely above the freezing point here at the surface still in this area, and the dew points are very low in the higher levels of the atmosphere. That actually leads to a pretty steep hail threat sometimes with some of our severe thunderstorms that develop in an area like this. So, again, if this was a wind-driven severe thunderstorm warning, that would be insane, but a hail-driven severe thunderstorm warning is actually not too crazy, even in 30-degree temperatures. It's still relatively rare, but it is possible for it to happen, as you're seeing now here in in northwestern Nebraska, here in the Panhandle. So again, we do have reports of half-dollar sized hail from this storm north of the Kimball area. So again, if you're in this region, make sure you're moving indoors and away from windows. But again, our bigger threat for the tornado threat right now comes for portions portions of Delaware, and again, even at this point, our rotation with this tornado warning storm doesn't look too darn impressive. Right now, over the Woodland area, we do have some broad rotation. We actually had a rotating supercell embedded in our line of storms in central New Jersey earlier that looked pretty impressive from a rotation standpoint. If we actually go ahead and play back the velocities here for you guys, you can kind of see where that was. Again, we can't go back far enough quite yet, but you can see it was around the Manalapan Township area, however you pronounce that. But anyway, so I think it is time to get right into our forecasting stream here. So again, let me go ahead and do one last quick check to make sure that everything's working, because you truly never know. There have definitely been times where I thought I was live and we weren't, and then I thought I wasn't live and I accidentally went live. So there are definitely technical issues and technical difficulties, every side of the board. Yeah, I'll join the call, why not? We're going to call with the boys here. Mr. Storm, I think, is still on this call. Hello. Oh, there we go.
What's up, chat?
Mr. Storm on the horn, everybody. So, anyway, let's go ahead and get right into this forecast. So, we're going to start off with tomorrow, and we're going to try and do everything entirely through Radar Omega until we go look for soundings. Tomorrow, an enhanced risk of severe weather now in place for sections of east central Kansas. This is a pretty interesting risk, I will say. We do have a 10% hatch tornado risk in place, and this is a conditional threat, but it is a loaded gun setup. So what that means is that we've got a very tornadically primed environment in this area. We got a lot of moisture. We've got ourselves quite a bit of shear, and this is going to be an environment that has the potential to bring us some strong tornadoes. However, that is all counting and contingent on the fact that we're going to get discrete supercells, which isn't necessarily true. As the most recent run of the HRRR comes in here, the 0Z run anyways, as the 1Z run is still coming in, we can see that it does have a couple of discrete supercells firing out ahead of our line of storms, right? So if this were to play out, we definitely could see a strong tornado threat somewhere in our 10% hatch risk zone, and maybe even outside of that towards the Kansas City metro region. So we may have to watch out for this specific area for a strong tornado threat, especially as the HRRR and NAM have recently been hitting that we could have a couple of discrete supercells, but it wasn't always like this. If we look over at the NAM model, we were just talking about it, but if we take a look at the 12Z, again, this came in around noon today, we can see that it wasn't necessarily showing us the same picture in terms of a discrete line of storms out ahead of our big line of storms that's going to bring a big-time wind threat. You can see that we still had some supercells, sure, but they're not necessarily discrete, and they don't really intensify too impressively. So would we deal with a super significant tornado threat if something like this were to play out? Absolutely not, alright? We'd mainly be talking about damaging winds with maybe an isolated tornado threat. But again, recent model guidance has had a slight uptrend in that storm mode, and we could potentially end up seeing a significant tornado threat because of that. Now, either way, whether we see significant tornadoes or not, we're definitely going to end up with a big-time damaging wind threat. So let's go ahead and dive into the timing for tomorrow. So you can kind of see around 7 p.m. I believe this would be, so this would be tomorrow night. This is around 7 p.m. here. We've got some thunderstorms firing in portions of eastern Nebraska, and these are mainly going to bring a wind and hail threat. But as we go further down in the timeline here, some storms start to pop off further down to the south, where we do have, whoa, Micro Edition with the $4.99 donation. W Micro Edition in the chat. Give me just a second here. Let me read out that message. Sorry, something popped up. Hi, Davis. I wasn't expecting you to go live today / tonight. Lol just saying hi. Thank you so much for the $5 donation. Everybody spam some W's in the chat for Micro Edition. That is awesome stuff. Again, donations are completely optional, but they are greatly appreciated. So huge shout out to Micro Edition for the $4.99 donation. W Micro Edition in the chat. Good to see you back here once again. But yeah, anyway, as we were saying here, we're mainly going to start to deal with any sort of tornado threat around 9 p.m. tomorrow night. This is going to be a pretty late night event, and that is with these discrete supercells that are going to be possible possible in southeast Kansas / east central Kansas here. So by 10 p.m., we still have some discrete supercells well out ahead of our line. And again, I would not rule out an isolated strong tornado here, especially across portions of east central and northeastern Kansas if this were to play out like this. But you'll notice our line starts to kind of get a bit more of a roar to it. It even starts to take a little bit of a bow echo shape here by midnight. We're going to be dealing with significant damaging winds of 60 to 80 miles an hour from portions of far southwestern Iowa all the way back down into portions of central Kansas potentially. And that line's going to continue to push off to the east here, and we actually do have a slight risk of severe weather for tomorrow that goes all the way back into portions of western and central Illinois, driven by a wind threat, right? So our line of storms will continue to push eastward, and potentially even a brief tornado threat does develop Wednesday morning with a few supercells that develop out ahead of our line in portions of west central Illinois, but I wouldn't buy that too much because they're going to get swallowed up by our line here pretty quickly, and the environment out here isn't great to support a tornado threat in the morning time hours anyway. But damaging winds will certainly be a big thing there for portions of north central and western Illinois tomorrow morning, or on Wednesday morning rather. Now that brings us to the big event Wednesday, and I'm going to say this right now, you guys. I know that there is, contingency on storm mode and everything like that, and I know some people aren't fully sure that this is going to be a big time tornado outbreak. I personally think it will be, and that is based off solely, if we had nothing else, I would base that off of the 0Z run of the HRRR. Guys, this is ridiculous. This is hour 46. I mean, this is insane.
Why'd you just pull?
I wasn't pulling a sounding, but just the amount of supercellular activity that we'll have in play here. I mean, the HRRR has discrete supercells from Ohio to Indiana to eastern Illinois to Kentucky to Tennessee to northeastern Alabama even. Again, this is at 5 p.m., right? So we definitely could be dealing with a significant tornado threat any of these areas here that those discrete little supercells develop. So we're definitely going to have to watch out pretty much the entirety of the afternoon and evening time hours on Wednesday here. Again, this is 4 p.m., still showing us some discrete activity from portions of east central Illinois back into west central Indiana, and then some more discrete storms actually back down into portions of northern Dixie Alley. But again, if discrete cells like this do end up firing, we definitely could see an upgrade to a moderate risk of severe weather for this kind of setup. And we're a little too early for me to, even throw out, hey, maybe we'll do a high risk. And I don't think they will personally, but I wouldn't completely 100% rule it out quite yet. So again, significant tornado parameter value spike, obviously very hard whenever it starts to factor in those intense little discrete supercells. And you've got an environment here where you've got 5 or higher on the significant tornado parameter all across portions of the Ohio and Tennessee valleys at the same time. So again, a very potent setup here for Wednesday. Again, this is 7 p.m., guys, and we're loading, significant tornado parameter values at 7 in multiple locations at different portions of the country. We got one in Kentucky. We got one almost at an 8 in Indiana. There's another one back here in eastern Illinois at about a 6. There's another one in east central Indiana at about a 6, which, again, obviously you shouldn't take these exact locations as, hey, this is where these supercells are going to exactly develop, and this is exactly how it's going to play out. But I'm not basing this all on the HRRR. I was saying if we had nothing else to go off of, I would still be confident in a significant tornado threat because of this, but we do have other models that have been showing us a similar thing. But again, a significant tornado threat there for the afternoon and evening time hours for sections of the Ohio River Valley, and as well as portions of the lower Mississippi Valley. Now, interestingly enough, the lower Mississippi Valley, at the beginning of us starting to see this event, it looked like it was going to be the most active area. It looked like this was going to kind of be a southern Arkansas thing for our hotspot. But actually, I do think that the tornado threat is going to shift a little bit further to the north. Yeah, that's definitely true, Justin. We're definitely still going to be dealing with supercells and potential tornadoes in Arkansas. But I would actually say that if I was chasing out here, I would target zone in northeast Arkansas if I had to choose somewhere in Arkansas in particular. I think that northern Arkansas at this point is looking a little bit more promising than an area down to the south. Again, we're still probably going to see a couple of tornadoes down to portions of southern Arkansas, but still pretty interesting stuff. So taking a look at our surface-based Cape values, there's going to be It's interesting, all right? We don't really have a lack of Cape values down by the Gulf Coast and Dixie Alley, obviously. And if anything, the values are actually quite high. If we take a look at the newest run of the HRRR, it's spewing, 3,000 plus Cape across several areas there in Dixie Alley. Now, the further north you go, obviously, the lower that's going to be. However, we're still dealing with Cape values well over 2,000 into sections of southern Indiana there, and, even back into portions of Illinois as well. So, definitely not going to have too much of a lack of Cape. Now, putting the slight risk as far out into northern Michigan and northern Wisconsin, I think is an interesting play, but you should note that the tornado threat will likely not go out this far north. Again, we don't have the specific tornado threats yet because this is a day 3 outlook, not a day 2 outlook, but still pretty interesting play by the SPC in my opinion. Now, if we take a look at shear, we're not going to have too much of a lack of shear either. This is the 0 to 1 kilometer bulk shear here in the atmosphere. You can see that those values are just unbelievably high, nearly maxing out the radar omega scale for portions of Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, and again, that's going to be in play in sections of, Dixie Alley as well, but it's one of those classic, early spring events where we've got a lot of Cape down in Dixie Alley and a lot of shear in the upper Midwest, and the area where we see the crossover is going to be the area that ends up seeing the most significant severe weather threat. So, again, very, very interesting setup in my opinion. Again, I personally do think that this is going to go moderate at some point in time. I would almost be shocked if it didn't. Will it go high risk? Probably not, but still some uncertainty on that. Now, we did get a new severe thunderstorm warning in portions of the Nebraska Panhandle for our storm here that's continuing to produce large hail. So if you're in Gurley or Dalton, make sure that you're getting indoors and away from windows. Let's do a quick checkup on our Delaware rotation. Yeah, still pretty broad, but it is definitely there over the Colonial Acres area. So, again, if you're in this area, make sure that you're staying in your safe spot. I'm actually going to go ahead and pull up Pivotal Weather. Mr. Storm, if you'd like to talk a little bit on Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever works, that would be great.
Yeah, so again, tomorrow definitely seems like the potential to be a big day, and I am noticing a trend from the NAM where we are starting to see much higher significant tornado parameter values. Now, this is as we get very late into the event tomorrow night. I did pull a sounding from, this is just south of Oklahoma City metro area. We had over 2,000 joules per kilogram. Okay, we had a very elongated and big, broad, curved photograph, and the effective layer STP was up to a 9. So that kind of gives you guys an idea of how potent the environment is. I definitely think that, again, this is kind of a high ceiling event. This could, I think this could definitely play out kind of as a usual 10% hatch mode, but I think, again, there is a potential for this to be a much more significant event than, everyone is expecting this to be. And then as we get into tomorrow, again, if we do see, obviously, that major outbreak of supercells, with this kind of environment, I am telling you right now, most of those are going to start rotating. And so that's where I do think we get the potential to, obviously, see that tornado outbreak. And then if shear and kinematics start to ramp up and overlap, obviously, those areas of high dew points and Cape values, which we are starting to see signals for that to happen. All right, that's where we're going to have the potential to see strong, and some people are definitely considering the possibility of violent tornadoes being possible. Now, I don't want to put out the violent word yet, because obviously you don't even have a moderate risk, but I definitely do think that strong to significantly and maybe even long track tornadoes are definitely going to be a possibility as we get into Wednesday.
Yeah, for sure. W Mr. Twister in the chat for the $1.23 donation. Everybody spam up those W Mr. Twisters in the chat. What a guy. So huge thank you to Mr. Twister again for that $1.23 donation. Again, you're awesome for that. What's up, Dakota? How's it going, Mr. Twister? Weston. So this was a sounding that I pulled while Mr. Strom was talking there from West Central Oklahoma. You guys will notice the effective layer STP is maxed out, and the scale caps at 11 with soundings on Pivotal Weather, but if you could look higher, this goes all the way up to near 20, which is very, very scary. You'll notice as well 700 SRH in this environment. We're going to have 77 3 Cape, lapse rates at 8 Celsius per kilometer, and shear being at 66 knots at the effective layer. So, very potent setup for tomorrow here. And honestly, again, it all comes down to if we get discrete supercells. But if we do end up getting discrete supercells, I would not rule out several strong to potentially very significant tornadoes tomorrow. Again, we're also going to definitely end up seeing quite a hail threat because, again, those lapse rates are very steep, and there's a significant drop-off in dew points in the higher levels of the atmosphere there. You can see we've got a 3-inch sized hail analog there at the top. Our hodograph, quite impressive, I shall say. We do have a Storm Slinky there turned at 75 degrees, little messy, but still, again, you get the general idea that this is going to be a very classic, kind of, Central Plains / Southern Plains setup here. Again, this is, that was hour 26 that we were looking at there, so if it were to happen at that time, again, that would be at 2Z, which I believe is 10 p.m. now that we're on standard time.
I think Zulu time is 4 hours before.
Okay.
4 hours later.
Yeah. So, anyway, very, very nasty stuff. Now, you may be thinking, okay, well, if we're pulling more impressive soundings from our event for tomorrow than we are for our event on Wednesday, why are we still more worried about Wednesday? I can give you guys 3 reasons. Number 1 is going to be the coverage on Wednesday. All right, tomorrow we're dealing with a strong tornado threat, certainly, but it's over a very localized area of Kansas and Oklahoma. On Wednesday, we're dealing with a threat for strong tornadoes all the way from Indiana and Ohio back down through Texas. So definitely no problem in the storm coverage on Wednesday. Tomorrow, it's not going to be nearly as large. Another reason that we're talking about Wednesday more than we're talking about tomorrow is because of failure modes. Now, does Wednesday still have some failure modes? Certainly. But if Wednesday has one of its failure modes, which, if anything, I guess would just be a lack of cape through portions of the Ohio Valley, there's certainly a couple others, but I think that would be the main thing, then we're still going to end up seeing significant tornadoes. But if tomorrow has a fail mode, then we may not see a single tornado. So, very potent setup there for Wednesday. It's more so of a, higher floor, higher ceiling event, or higher floor, lower ceiling event, I should say, while tomorrow is a low floor, high ceiling event. Lack of cape can be a failure mode. Certainly. That can be the reason that we don't get severe thunderstorms. So, in a way, that is a failure mode. But, anyway, that was reason number 2. What was the third thing I was going to say? I don't remember. There was going to be a third thing. We do have plenty of cape for Wednesday, but you got to remember, Rockets, that doesn't extend back into the Ohio Valley necessarily. And again, we still have decent cape in the Ohio Valley, certainly. But based on the most recent run of the HRRR, it caps at about 2,000. All right. Sorry, I'm just catching them on chat there. And again, back into sections of Dixie Alley, certainly no lack of cape whatsoever. I'm not saying it's not enough to see tornadoes. You can certainly see tornadoes with 2,000 cape. You guys are kind of taking my words out of context here, I'm just going to be honest. 2,000 cape is where it caps tomorrow. Another thing you've got to remember is while 2,000 cape can still bring tornadoes and even some strong tornadoes with enough shear, which we definitely have on Wednesday, it doesn't guarantee it. So, anyway. Sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there. So, again, tomorrow, as we were saying, lower floor, higher ceiling. Wednesday, higher floor, lower ceiling. Now, we are going to have some chasers out tomorrow. I know Ashton Henry's going out tomorrow for portions of Kansas. So, we'll definitely have some chasers out there. I'm not sure if Storm Winter Media is going to be going out for tomorrow. they're definitely going out for Wednesday. And then we're also going to have, Justin, our Wind Dancer Media, out there on Wednesday. He's in the chat right now. So let us know what you're thinking for Wednesday if you're still in here. We're also going to have several other chasers out there. We're going to have Freddie McKinney, probably John McKinney, probably. So definitely not a lack of chasers out there. Do you have any idea on where you're going to be positioning yet for Wednesday, Justin? If you don't have a plan yet, I totally understand, but just let us know what you're thinking.
I'm back.
All right, welcome back.
Do you think that storm mode still remains a question for Wednesday?
I will not... Oh, sorry, I'll answer that question in a second. I will not be out until later in the evening. Gotcha. So, yes, about Wednesday's storm mode. And, again, it's a situation where if we have a bad storm mode and it's entirely linear, that's almost impossible for it to be over the entirety of our enhanced risk, right? It's not like we're going to see an entirely linear mode all the way from Wisconsin to Texas in the area where we're going to have the potential to see tornadoes. So, while we certainly could have a poor storm mode in certain portions of our enhanced risk, and that could limit the tornado threat in whatever region, we are definitely not going to have a too poor of a storm mode overall to see strong tornadoes.
Yeah. I do want to mention...
Wait until tomorrow, okay.
So, the NWS National Weather Service office in Little Rock, Arkansas, their forecasted rainfall amounts from Wednesday through Sunday morning, they have 10 to 15 inches from Little Rock all the way up through Jonesboro.
Yeah, and that is something that I think Justin, our Wind Dancer Media, mentioned in my premiere earlier. The biggest... Yeah, honestly, the most deadly part of this event is likely not going to end up being tornadoes or wind or hail or, lightning or whatever. It's probably going to be flooding, all right? We already have a day 3 moderate risk of flash flooding for portions of the Mid-South on Wednesday here. This goes through some populated areas as well. This goes through Memphis, Tennessee, Jonesboro, Arkansas, Paducah, Kentucky, Evansville, Indiana, Bloomington, Indiana, Columbus, Indiana. Again, a moderate risk of flash flooding is not something that they throw out very often. And again, whenever it's a day 3 moderate risk, you can almost bet your bottom dollar that we're going to end up with a day 1 high risk at some point. So definitely be on the lookout. They have already issued a flood watch all the way from a couple of counties in northeastern Texas back into sections of the Ohio River Valley. So we're going to see what happens. But significant rainfall, guys. Again, potentially historic rainfall event here, especially for portions of Arkansas, western Tennessee, western Kentucky. Where was the... do you have like a graphic where it mentioned 10 to 15 inches of rain, Vincent?
Yes.
If you could send that to me, that would be awesome. Cause
do you want Discord, or does it not matter?
It doesn't matter.
What?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
You also notice here, their tornado potential is highlighted at low, but they had to add brackets conditional. Oh my gosh, that was a bad voice crack. Yeah, that's actually crazy. So this is what Vince was talking about here. You'll notice it has 10 to 15 inches of rain across the entirety of central and northeastern Arkansas, from Hot Springs to Little Rock to Searcy to Jonesboro to Memphis, and as well back through sections of western Kentucky and southeastern Missouri. Significant to catastrophic flash flooding is expected, guys. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It really looks like we're going to be dealing with a huge flooding event here compared to what we usually see with severe weather events like this. And that is because areas are going to be seeing, for one, they're going to be seeing multiple storms, at a time in, over a short few-hour period. And also, a lot of these areas have already seen severe thunderstorms after event over the weekend. But you'll notice here, all right, let's take Jonesboro, Arkansas, as an example. You're going to start seeing, heavy rainfall at around 3 p.m., and that may not end until around midnight. Again, the HRRR 0Z doesn't go far enough out yet, but you're going to be seeing a prolonged period of very heavy rainfall with a slow-moving line of storms there. And again, you've already seen so much rainfall over the past few events that significant flash flooding is expected. Again, especially across this region here of the Mid-South.
Yeah. Going back to that graphic we showed from the National Weather Service, you got to keep in mind that all of Arkansas is forecasted to receive at least 4 inches of rain between Wednesday and I believe that's Sunday. So, again, I mean, it doesn't even really matter where you're at. You're definitely going to be experiencing excessive rainfall, but those areas that are expected to see, again, 8+ inches of rain, those are the areas that we're extremely concerned about for, obviously, potential for flash flooding, but I think there will be a ton of river flooding, and, I think that this could definitely be a very, very significant situation, like Davis mentioned.
Yeah, so we've got somebody coming in from Hot Springs, Arkansas, asking about how it's looking. Again, we kind of just went over it, but you're mainly going to be dealing with a big-time flooding threat. But I will note the Hot Springs area definitely is going to have at least some sort of brief tornado threat, but I think especially damaging winds you're going to have to look out for. But it really all depends, because it looks like if the line develops just off to the east of you, you may not end up seeing much, which looks like a possibility based off the newest NAM run. But again, you shouldn't take, one NAM run as, it's definitely going to happen. If we look at the 18Z run of the NAM here, it has the line developing, let's see, kind of just over you. So it really depends. Again, damaging winds look like a likelihood, though, no matter what. But probably not a huge tornado threat, at least compared to your folks off to your north and your east. Is this tonight or Wednesday? This is for Wednesday. If you are new here, make sure to like and subscribe. We do this every day for areas all across the country. We're going to have a big few days of coverage ahead, guys.
Yeah, it's really a very active start to weather, and we're not done by day 4.
Yeah, that's another thing. Day 4 there, we do have that slight risk of severe weather that goes out for sections of the Ohio and as well as the lower Mississippi Valley. This is a very interestingly shaped slight risk. Again, in my forecast today, I said brought to you by Nike. This goes all the way from the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex back towards Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania here. Some damaging winds and hail definitely can't be ruled out, and maybe a couple of brief tornadoes as well. I think especially across parts of the mid-Mississippi Valley, I would not be surprised to see an enhanced risk upgrade. But it's a little far out to get that specific, so we'll wait for more forecast updates as they come. And again, obviously not a lot of people are going to be talking about Thursday whenever we have Tuesday and Wednesday to deal with, but it is looking like it is going to be a threat. What about Mississippi? My son has baseball games this weekend, so it really all depends on what area in Mississippi you're talking about. But if we take a look at the day 3 outlook here, again, northern Mississippi is highlighted in that enhanced risk of severe weather. If we do end up seeing discrete supercells out ahead of our line of storms, northern Mississippi could be under the gun for a couple of strong tornadoes. But the further south you go, the less likely you're going to end up seeing severe storms. Again, once you get down to like the Jackson area, it's very iffy. Maybe some damaging winds, and by the time you get down to the Gulf Coast, you're not going to end up seeing anything at all. Yeah, Hattiesburg will be fine. Nothing to worry about in Hattiesburg, really. If anything, the day 4 outlook may have the marginal risk a little closer to you, but either way, I mean, you're still not going to end up seeing too much. But we are now at 3,878 subscribers. If you've not already, make sure to hit that sub button. And the Rolling Fork video is so close to hitting 25,000 views. Again, that is insane, and I cannot thank you guys enough for that. That is crazy. That is my second biggest video of all time. So again, thank you guys so much for that. I'm very glad that that's the video that blew up. I think that's a really good one. But a lot of you may be new from that video. So, pretty cool. For Giggle Chicago. Well, you say that, but Chicago actually definitely could have a threat for severe weather. You are in the enhanced risk, and I believe even in the hatched enhanced risk there for day 3 on Wednesday. So definitely some significant severe weather is going to be possible, but mainly going to be talking about a big-time damaging wind threat. I don't think tornadoes are really going to be in the cards for the Chicago Metro, at least as much as they are further down to your south, but some damaging winds and hail certainly can't be ruled out for Chicago. 'What's up, Gooseman?
Yeah, so, again, we're going to be talking about the day 4 outlook here. Again, northern Mississippi is highlighted in that enhanced risk of severe weather. If we do end up seeing discrete supercells out ahead of our line of storms, northern Mississippi could be under the gun for a couple of strong tornadoes. But mainly going to be talking about a big-time damaging wind threat. I don't think tornadoes are really going to be in the cards for the Chicago Metro, at least as much as they are further down to your south, but some damaging winds and hail certainly can't be ruled out for Chicago. What's up, Gooseman?
I think I'll probably go day 1 moderate just because of a slight lack in confidence in this event so far.
Yeah, the SPC does actually mention that in their forecast. So, again, the potential upgrade to a moderate seems pretty likely at this point. But there are still a few things that we need to figure out, and that will likely come tomorrow as we see more of these HRRR runs come out. I really think once we see tomorrow's afternoon run of the HRRR, the 12Z, I think by then we'll have a pretty good latch as to what we're gonna really be talking about as far as storm mode and everything for Wednesday.
And I kind of highlighted this earlier for the boys in the group chat, but I think if we do get a moderate risk of severe weather added, it would look something like this. I think it would mainly go over sections of the mid-Mississippi Valley there where we're expecting storm mode to be a little bit more of a certainty. Again, mainly going to be over areas like Louisville, Kentucky, Cincinnati, Ohio, potentially Indianapolis, Memphis, Tennessee, Cape Girardeau, Paducah, Kentucky, Evansville, Indiana, and surrounding areas that I think are going to have the greatest tornado threat. But yeah. We lived in Clinton, Mississippi when the Rolling Fork tornado happened. It's so sad, but people all over the state went and helped. That's definitely true, and people out of state, obviously, we know a lot of awesome people that went out and helped there as well. So again, it's sad to see a disaster like that happen, but the amount of relief that they got there so quickly was very impressive, considering communication was completely cut off from the Rolling Fork area because a cell tower got destroyed. Do you know about when this is going to hit southern Indiana on Wednesday? Yes, this is going to be a nighttime thing for southern Indiana. Maybe some thunderstorms earlier in the day, but the big line is going to impact your area by night. So if we take a look at things here on our favorite, the NAM model, we can see that, again, maybe some thunder showers pop up there around 10 p.m., but really the biggest threat for you is going to come kind of very late at night. If we take a look at the 18Z run of the NAM here so that we can actually see specific timings, again, it kind of has the line approaching your area at around 1 a.m. Mainly going to be watching for a wind threat in southern Indiana, but if any discrete supercells develop, again, an isolated strong tornado definitely can't be ruled out, so make sure you have multiple ways to receive alerts and stay tuned into the channel for constant updates. How bad do you think Columbus, Ohio could be? Columbus, Ohio, probably just going to be watching for a big-time wind threat, but I wouldn't rule out an isolated QLCS tornado. You are in that enhanced risk of severe weather there. And again, it would be an early morning thing Thursday for Columbus, Ohio. Actually, you are in the day 4 slight risk of severe weather. So. What about Shepherdsville, Kentucky? Let's see. Did I spell that wrong? I did. Shepherdsville. Okay, so you're out there in the Louisville area. So again, I actually think that you're going to have one of the greater tornado threats out of the entire event. Ignore that voice crack. If any discrete supercells fire, we're going to have to watch out for a big-time tornado threat. And again, that would mainly be a late nighttime thing, so you need to make sure that you have multiple ways to receive alerts and that they're going to wake you up, because that's the biggest problem. People don't wake up in a situation like this. That's why tornadoes like Mayfield and Rolling Fork were so deadly. People don't even know what the heck's going on, especially because most of the times you can't even hear the sirens blaring whenever there's a situation that's this serious and this loud outside. So again, make sure you have a no-weather radio. Make sure you're staying tuned into the streams. Again, we recommend that you have at least 2 ways to receive alerts if one of them fails for whatever reason. Good night. But yeah.
Yeah, again, tuning into these streams and having another good way to receive warnings is crucial in these situations, because obviously we want to make sure that everyone is aware of obviously possible ongoing tornadoes and, areas of rotation, so that we can make sure everyone's staying safe out there.
Lone Oak, Arkansas is mainly going to be watching for an evening time thing. Again, if we see any discrete supercells at a head of our line, which it definitely looks like we could, we may have a brief tornado threat in the early to mid-afternoon time hours, but I doubt that. The biggest thing is going to come around 6 p.m. whenever the line develops. Again, mainly going to be watching for damaging winds and flooding. Again, you got to look out for flooding there, just east of Little Rock. That is going to be by far the biggest threat for central Arkansas, in my opinion. Again, we're talking about over a foot of rainfall for some of these areas. Yeah, a lot of people turned him off and they just didn't turn him back on. Which, honestly, there's a good chance that people have lost their lives simply due to that reason by now. So. I can't. How many people in the U.S. have NOAA weather radios? I believe it's about 30 million. That may be way wrong. No, not coverage areas. I'm trying to find it. It keeps just telling me how many different stations there are. Yeah, I don't know. But it's not as many as it should be. New subscriber here. I love your content. Very informative and straight to the point. You're great at what you do. Keep it up. Love from Kansas. We're going to be watching out for you tomorrow in Kansas, so make sure you tune into the stream. Again, Kansas is definitely going to be our target zone for tomorrow / Central Oklahoma. So, we will be live pretty much all evening tomorrow. But huge thank you. I don't think I would have known that there was a tornado warning in my area earlier today. I'm in southeast Pennsylvania, so I'm not used to tornadoes. Yeah, I hope you're doing all right. I saw your comment. I believe you left one. And then it was somebody else. I know we have a lot of viewers from Pennsylvania, so. Again, the main thing that occurred in Pennsylvania was nothing. No, I'm kidding. The main thing that occurred in Pennsylvania was wind. But just ask Mr. Storm. At this point, the line is not too intense.
Yeah, I just intercepted the line about half hour ago. We did actually have, I don't know if you guys heard it on the stream, but there was a lightning strike measured just about a mile away from my exact location. I saw the flash outside my window just now, and the thunder was pretty loud right after it. But I'm going to say it was all just wind and rain. That was pretty much it.
Yeah. Mr. Twister, 5% hatch risks pop up on the glitch with Omega like that all the time. Like, I could find one right now. Let's see. I say that, and of course I can't find one, but it's not actually a 5% hatch risk. It's just, highlighted over the very specific areas. But it's happened before. Of course, as soon as I say that, I can't actually find one, but it's certainly a thing. Do I think you have a chance of a violent tornado? Not a violent tornado in central Arkansas. Again, violent tornadoes are something that happens, a few times a year. Violent tornadoes are considered tornadoes that get an EF4 or higher intensity rating. We're definitely not going to see any of that in central Arkansas tomorrow, and potentially not tomorrow, but Wednesday. And we're potentially not going to see that at all. But yeah, tomorrow we'll be live over here on this channel pretty much all afternoon and evening, so make sure you stay tuned in. Probably going to schedule the stream as soon as we end off here, which honestly, we might end up ending off here pretty shortly. Again, if anybody has any questions about the location for the next few days, make sure to leave those down below. But this has been a really good stream, and again, we've had some really active viewerships. Thank you guys for tuning in. Why am my voice cracking so hard? Not even necessarily strong to intense. I just don't think tornadoes are going to be a big threat for central Arkansas. Again, mainly going to be watching areas just north of there. Again, the Ohio Valley, I think, is a sleeper area for this event. I'm a little biased, but discrete supercells look like they're almost certainly going to develop. Peace out, severe weather. Severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect for southeastern Delaware. Again, today was a whole load of a nothing burger for the East Coast in terms of a tornado threat. Other than our Haysburg tornado. Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania will mainly be fine until Thursday, where we could be watching for some damaging winds and hail. Again, that would mainly be over southwestern Pennsylvania, so he should be good. Hey Davis, tornado went through my town this morning. Where's that at? I think you were in the Hadesburg area, right? Whoa, Sonja with the $5 dono, brought to you by Nike, is epic. Thank you so much for the $5 donation. Everybody throw those W Sonjas down below in the chat. Another person that has been on the channel for so long now. W Sonja down below. I don't know why I said it like that. But huge thank you, Sonja, for the $5 donation. Greatly appreciated. That's awesome stuff. Alright. Bro, this man did it again. Ladies and gentlemen, Alan, he hasn't even typed it in the chat yet. Alan, if you're here, say something. Alan? Alan sent me a $25 dono. W. Allen in the chat. Alan is the GOAT. I don't know why he doesn't say something when he does it, but Alan, you are such a W. Everybody throw those W. Whoa, and Teresa with the $20 super sticker. I forgot those were a thing. W. Teresa in the chat. Wow.
Animation, I don't know why.
Yeah. Huge thank you to Teresa for the and Mr. Twister with the $5 dono. Holy crap. This stream is sponsored by Nike. It is not, for legal reasons. But, yeah, let's say it is. W. Mr. Twister, W. Teresa, W. Sonja, W. Allen, W. Everybody that's dropped a donation. Again, huge thank you to Teresa and Allen in particular for the $20 and $25 donations. That is insane. But again, all donations are appreciated. So thank you guys so much. Spam up those W's. Those all came in at once. That's insane. Again, Alan was just so nonchalant about it. He was just like, he donated $25 and he just said, first stream. So, W. Allen. Wow. So, huge thank you to Teresa and Alan. I don't think Alan's in here. Alright, Sam, you can chill.
Alright, Sam.
Chill. Alright, buddy. Okay. Seriously, though, huge shout out to Teresa for the $20 dono, and Alan, if you're here, bro. I don't even think Alan tuned in. I think he just saw I was live and dropped the $25 dono. That's crazy. Northwest Indiana and Michigan. Again, a lack of instability in this area could lead to potentially a slightly lower tornado threat, but damaging winds certainly can't be ruled out. And again, it would mainly be a late nighttime thing on a Wednesday for you. So make sure you have multiple ways to receive alerts because it's definitely going to be an overnight thing while you're asleep. But again, some significant damaging winds, maybe an isolated tornado. But as of right now, still a little unsure about this area because of that lack of instability and moisture. But yeah, stay safe out there, Shalaxy.
Yeah.
Dave says, Sports Stormrunner Media, they have nothing but good things to say about you. That's awesome to hear. Do they actually talk about me? Do you guys know? Because low-key, I wish I could tune into their streams more, but basically every time they're live, I'm live. About 6334. Bowling Green. Yeah, so, again, you're a little bit further northwest of where I think the main tornado threat would be, but I will note that overnight complex of storms moving through the Central Plains could potentially be somewhat significant for you in the early morning time hours for Wednesday in terms of a damaging wind threat. Again, you are included in that enhanced risk of severe weather, and if we take a look at things, some significant damaging winds certainly going to be possible there around 10, 11 a.m. through kind of 4 p.m. with that second round of storms on Wednesday. Thank you, Shalaxy. Type in 39702. I got you. You're in Columbus, Mississippi. Okay. So Mississippi again. Whoa, thank you, Sam, for the $1 dono. W Sam down below in the chat. He's always here. He's always a W. Anyway, Columbus, Mississippi. Mainly, he just wanted to do that so he could spam W's. I respect it. Mainly, there's going to be a damaging wind threat. And again, central Mississippi, I'm really not too worried about in general. I think Dixie Alley is going to have to watch out on Thursday, but Wednesday, not so much, other than like western Dixie. So, honestly, you may not end up seeing anything in that area. Levi, if you can, join the call, bro.
Levi, what up?
We got a 60-mile-an-hour wind gust report from our severe storm in Nebraska. That's crazy.
Wow.
Peace out, Mr. Twister. Yeah, you can't spell Kevin without annoying. Boom. Mic drop, walk away. W roast. Levi! He's in the call, folks.
Yo, I probably can't stay long because, like, low-key I have school tomorrow and it's like 10.
What's up, Derek? Yeah, I feel that. Whoa, Paige with the $5 dono. Y'all do a great job. Thanks from North Carolina. Let's go. W Paige in the chat. W Paige. Thank you so much for the $5 dono. Again, another person's been here for so long. That's it. Levi made a very good point, though. I did not realize quite what time it was. Unfortunately, I would love to stay on, but I am going to have to end off this live stream here. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to like and subscribe. Again, we're going to be live all evening tomorrow and Wednesday as well. Again, significant things are coming. That's what I've got to end off with here. So you guys have anything else you want to say before we log off?
Sorry to bring that bad news about the time.
No, you're good. Thank you, actually. Otherwise, I would be getting scolded. All right, Sam, chill.
Just stay safe out there, everybody.
Haha, Sam, I banned you for the rest of the stream. Yeah, stay safe out there, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Whoa, Dakota with the $1 dono. W Dakota before we end off. Everybody spam those W Dakotas in the chat. Thank you so much for the $1 dono. Alright, I really have to go now, guys, so peace out.